All right, we're live. You gonna behave? We'll see. Anyway, here we are once again on Tuesday. Made it through the night. We had to shut down the boiler at work last night and do some repairs and many things like that. It all went fairly well, but it was a long night working down in the basement, mostly dead still. Nice, hot, and humid evening, so a little bit tired. But other than that, everything's going pretty well. I got a bunch of stuff here I wanted to show you that I picked up. And you are going to the vet tomorrow. Finally getting her taken in to get her spayed, get her all of her shots. Had an appointment set up about a month ago, but I had to reschedule it. Got some stuff done over the weekend, a little bit of yard work and whatnot. And my fermentation crock back here has got a load of crock pickles working in it. Those will be done in about 3 weeks. Anyone else missed the beginning of Mud's words? I don't know. Anyway, about 3 weeks I'll be canning those up. I also made a video over the weekend making banana fudge. Haven't edited it yet, but I'll be getting that done during the week. Probably get that posted up this weekend. Other than that, if my cat wants to cooperate and not be in the way and be a pain, I'll show you some of the cool stuff I got. First of all, this is the one that everybody was kind of waiting for. Is this old waffle iron. Got a cool flippy handle on it. And what it is, I don't have the base for it. You can see the little trunnions on the side. It would sit in the base, and you would flop it over like that, and then flop it back the other way. And when you wanted to open it, there's notches in the hinge and little tabs on the handle. You push them down a little bit, and you open it like that. Open her up and I'll show you the inside. Just a standard waffle pattern inside. Needs a little more cleaning, a little more time soaking in the lye and then the electrolysis. You can see, got it cleaned up. Patent date April 17th, 1887. Right there, that says 9 and 10. There's a P down there. And another P on the other side. Now, question is, what kind of waffle iron is this? I'm pretty sure this design anyway was used by Excelsior. They were a company out of St. Louis, Missouri. Excelsior and G.F. Feely were basically the same company. They made Excelsior waffle irons that were marked, said Excelsior on them. And they're this exact design, exact style, but the patent date's a little earlier. That, like I said, you can see that's 1887. The marked Excelsior ones that I found were, I think, 1884, 1883. This is 1887, and it's unmarked. I'm pretty sure that's probably an Excelsior. It might be somebody copied it, but hard to say exactly. The G.F. Feely waffle irons, like I said, they're basically the same company, are the same principle, but they're a little bit different design. They have a 3-part hinge in the middle, but they also have 2 more ears farther out that have the notches in it, and the handle is wider. With this, you can see there's 1 notch on this side, and it's a little bit not terribly secure to open it with just that 1 notch, where if you flip it over on the other side to where it hooks into 2 latches into, get that flipped around there, into 2 notches, it's really a lot more solid. So the G.F. Feely marked ones, they have 2 more ears on the sides of the hinges so that both sides have 2 notches that you're grabbing onto. And like I said, the handle is wider down at the bottom. But other than that, it's the same design. So I'm pretty sure this is an Excelsior waffle iron. And 1887 pretty cool, really old. The other stuff I got from that same auction, I got I haven't cleaned any of these up yet. That's a Lodge, little number 8 cornbread skillet. Always a nice little thing to have. I got a fairly dusty 1891 Wagner. That's a skillet griddle is what they call it. Griddles, yeah, skillet griddle. Size that 11 1/4 inch. It's a good size one. Not too bad. Get that cleaned up. That's a handy little thing to have too. Get that set aside. That over there. And got a smallish little 3-footed cauldron. Not quite sure who made this. There's the ears on the side. It has a 7. It's a number 7. It has a 7 on the bottom. Turn that right there. And that's definitely a Griswold style of 7. That's the font that Griswold used for most of their numbers. But it isn't marked Griswold. It's a little heavy, so I'm not quite sure. It's probably a copy of a Griswold, but it's a nice little cauldron. Like I said, it needs a bit cleaning up on the inside. And the fork that was in the picture did come with it. A little bit rusty, needs a little cleaning up. That's a cool little meat fork. They got this, I guess, can't remember if these were to help hold the meat. You kind of tip it down, or if it was to keep you from cutting yourself with a knife. But it makes a nice little stand too. That little guard kind of flips around. But I'll get that cleaned up too, and kind of a neat little deal. But on my way back, for picking up all of that stuff, I got some more stuff. I'll show you that in a minute. Got to go back through here and say hi to everybody. Fuzz Fork, Cynthia, nice to see you. 6 drops. Oh, you got a knife that matches the fork? Cool. Cooked on that Lodge cornbread Sunday. Yeah, they're nice little deals. I mean, you can do a lot of different stuff with those cornbread skillets besides making cornbread. Kind of an all-around nice little baking dish. I've made little pies in them. You line it with pie crust and fill it. Put your crust over the top, and you got little individual pie slice shaped pieces of pie. Pretty cool little deal. I wonder what the chances of finding a base for that or a compatible one. Probably not all that great, but you never know. I mean, you find odd bases here and there once in a while. I got that base for a large button hinge Griswold, pretty cheap. So you never know what you'll come across until you come across it. But that was Honey Badger. Good to see you. 6 drops already said hi to. Jim 44. Good to see you. I found a 12-inch. Jim F. found a 12-inch glass Wagnerware lid at a thrift store. Need a 12-inch lid. Hope it fits your skillets. It should. At least fit most of them. Maybe I'll show email. I'm kind of working backwards through this. Hog Wild Cast Iron Restoration. RT Scott. Billy Lee, good to see you. Corey Clark. I'm pretty sure Corey is the one who posted the recipe for that banana fudge on the Facebook page. At least I hope it was Corey, because I think I mentioned it in the video that it was. A cool waffle iron. Yeah, it's a neat one. I really like that handle for flipping it around and opening it up. Pickle-tastic night. You got 4 batches, 8 pints each. Cuke's growing like crazy. Yeah, like I said, I got some crock pickles working there. And they'll take, like I said, they'll take 3 weeks. You got me a present. Cool. I like presents. Let's see. Jim F. Paulie's Customs. Hey, good to see you, Paulie. Mark Cyber. Jim Glathar. JR Finishes, good to see you. Let's see. I think I got pretty much everybody said hi to. Scroll through these quick, see if there's any questions. Cast iron waffles are better than electric waffle makers. Yeah, they get a nice, really nice crispy outside to them. Oh, the pan coating fluid. Yeah, that's been around for a long time. If you heat Teflon above, I think it's 500 degrees, somewhere around there, certain temperature anyway, it starts to break down and off gas fumes, which you get a good lung full of them, you'll end up with kind of flu-like symptoms. So, yeah, you don't want to breathe smoking Teflon. Jim's going to make some waffles tomorrow. Yeah, I think I got everybody said hi to. But anyhow, get back to the bottom here. Caught up on the questions enough. 6 Drops has a matching knife. Well, maybe I'll have to clean that up and send it to you. Then you'll have a nice set of knives and forks. The kitty's going to mellow out after tomorrow. I would hope so. If nothing else, she'll probably be stoned for a day or two from being sedated. Did you say the fork was from Germany? I don't think. What did I do with it? I don't think there's any kind of markings on it. Nothing that I could see anyway. But yeah, it's a cool little deer antler fork. But yeah, I'll probably send that along to you once I get her cleaned up. But no, I don't see any markings on it. Might be some real tiny ones if I get it cleaned up a little bit and see. If Cynthia can find a Griswold, I can find a base. Yeah, I mean, someday it'll come around, I'm sure. You see odd bases now and then, you wonder what the hell they're for, but if you haven't seen the waffle iron that goes to it, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. Found a Russell and Irwin Food Mincer number 1. Well, that's cool. I got a food chopper too. It's got a cast iron handle. I can't remember what brand it is, but is that fork bone or ivory handle? That's deer antler, is what that is. A little piece of a horn. And it's a really nice pointy stabby fork too. But anyway, the other things I stopped off at a place on the way home. Hadn't been there in quite a few years, actually. Got quite a bit of stuff it was $120 for all of it. A couple of them are projects. I got, let's see, you guys should be able to recognize that handle. Who made that? That's a favorite lid. It's a number, where is this? There. It's a number 8.5 lid. You can just see it there. Had this sitting on the junk pile outside because it's cracked. You can see the crack on the top fairly obviously there. It's got a crack in it, and that was $5 for that thing. There you can see. So I snatched that off the pile. That'll be a little project to weld up. Get that cleaned up. Let's see here. Set him down here. Got a trivet. Nice little, it's unmarked, but it's a nice little trivet. I got plenty of Dutch ovens that don't have one, so it's good to have an extra trivet. I've been looking for one of these for a while. I got 2 things actually that I've been looking for. That's a nice dual logo number 7 favorite Miami. Got the Smiley logo and the Miami logo on it both. These came a little bit later, towards the end of Favorite's run after Chicago Hardware Foundry bought them out. They started making those dual logo ones. Nice little number 7. Ain't too bad a shape. Needs a little bit of cleaning, but it's not too bad. And I got this one. That's number 8. I've been looking for one of them too. That's a Chicago Hardware Foundry Favorite Cookware, North Chicago, Illinois. Again, this is after Chicago Hardware bought out the patterns and bought out the hollowware business from a favorite stove company. But for a while there, you can see they modified the favorite Pequaware logo, put their name on it. Instead of Pequa, just put cookware in there. Did away with the smile underneath. And you can see there's kind of a, looks like a little bit of a butter mark right down there where they erased something, probably most of the smile. But that's a cool pan. And I've been looking for one of them for a while too. You got the second one, not the Miami. Yeah, I have a Miami, just the, it has just the Miami logo on it, but that's the first dual logo one I came across. So I was tickled to get that. Get my stuff piled up over here. Got another project that's got a crack in it. Kind of hard to see. I forget where it was exactly. But anyway, you kind of tap on that. It sounds good there, but if you get hold of it over here, it doesn't sound quite right. And there is a crack in there somewhere, with I forget where. This is a number 9, another favorite, and it's the best to cook in. You can tell because it says right on it, it is the best to cook in. But I'll get that cleaned up, and I think the cracks are over here. I'll get that cleaned up, and that'll be a nice another little project piece. Clean her up and weld it. Not sure what's on the inside. It's kind of grubby looking, but that should clean up all right. And I've already have one of these that isn't broken, so, but that was cheap, and I figured that'd make a nice thing to give away at some point after I get that welded up. Screams Fassengarten. It could be. You know, I mean, like I say, once I get that fork cleaned up a little better, might be able to see something if it's got real tiny lettering on it, but there's nothing obvious on it. Headed to Massanutten, Virginia. Hopefully a nice vacation iron piece. Last year you got a Martin number 8. Sounds good. The guy where I got these things had quite a bit more stuff up there, but I was getting short of cash by then. Yeah, that exact number 8 favorite. Arguably your favorite number 8. Pardon the pun. We'll let it slide. But yeah, I have a number 9 like that already. The one other thing I got at that same shop was, God help me, yet another waffle iron. This one's got a base with it. Let me get the iron out of there. That one's got the proper base that goes with it, which is nice because it's kind of an unusual waffle iron. I haven't seen one quite like it before. Set that back over here. This one is a S.H. Ransom and Company, Albany, New York. Well, just Albany. Kind of a really flat, thin one. And on the inside, it has a really cool pattern. Little fleur-de-lis and Celtic crosses, kind of, or Maltese crosses, actually. But it's got that really slick pattern on the inside. This one has been repaired at some point. It's got a, you can see a little bit where somebody brazed one of the ears back on. But that is a really cool waffle iron. There were a few different makers that made more or less this style. And they had different patterns on the inside. Different companies made them. But this is an S.H. Ransom and Company. And that's a really neat one. It's pretty clean already, but I'll get her cleaned up and redone. So I was tickled with that. That was, I think this was kind of the most expensive out of all of it. I think this was like $50 around there, which is a pretty damn good price for something like that. Damn, set back down. But anyway. I did some research on your chef skillet. It's the biggest one Wagner made, 11-inch, 138.9, regular handle. The red book is right there, very hard to find. Ah, cool. It's even cooler when it turns out something you found is actually hard to find. We'll be starting my own waffle house at some point. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some serious waffle making here pretty soon. Well, probably in the fall once I got the wood stove going again, because waffle irons like that work best on the wood stove. But yeah, I'll definitely have to get the get the wood stove cranked up and fire up a half a dozen waffle irons and go to town. Making some scores lately. Yeah, I have. I kind of lucked out here. Like I said, it was a place I hadn't been to in quite a while. I thought Miami was the economy version of Pequot, like Oneida was to Wapak. Yeah, they were. They were favorites economy brand, like Victor and Griswold and National and Wagner. Yeah, they're all kind of they were all the slightly cheaper. They usually weren't quite as finished. A lot of times they would reuse old patterns, rework them as best they could, and get a little bit more life out of them. Sell them a little bit cheaper. You know, sometimes the casting quality isn't quite as good. You know, they'll have more sand shift to them and minor flaws, but usually they're still really great pans. I mean, the Victors and the Nationals are just as good as anything else you're going to find. You sent me pics. Okay. Bringing up pics from the from Yahoo for some reason is weird, trying to do it live. Yeah, I can download them and show them, then put them in a folder and open them up. But I'll show everybody next week what it is, and I'll save the surprise from when I'm done here. Getting a little bit hot in here. I had to turn the air conditioner off so you don't have to listen to the noise. Coffee went down wrong. But yeah, you know, if you look around, you can find a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I paid what, $125 for all of that stuff, and it was $45 for that Excelsior waffle iron and the griddle and the cornbread skillet and the little cauldron. So a little bit of luck, you can find some stuff. You know, if you're looking for something in particular, you need one of something, it can be frustrating as hell, because you can wait a long time to find a particular item. But if you're just looking for cool stuff, you know, there's definitely things out there, and you can get at different you know, at decent prices now and then. Yeah, I'd be heading on to my home before long with all the cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, it gets to be a bit of a pile at times, but there's always something that you just gotta have. And every now and then you got to be kind of vicious and start culling the herd. I got rid of a fair bit of stuff already, you know, sold off here and there. But you know, definitely going to have to sort through everything again and kind of start getting rid of some of the extras, because you do end up, you know, when you buy a lot of something at an auction, a lot of times you'll end up with the one thing you wanted and four things you weren't really looking for. Yeah, I mean, the cornbread skillet is nice, but I already have a couple of them actually, so I'll clean that up and sell it or give it away or do something with it. The cornbread skillets are great if you like brown edges on all the sides. Yeah, I really like them. I mean, you can use them for a baking dish, for making brownies. Like I said, I made little individual pies with them. They're handy for that. And you know, and of course, making cornbread with them. They're just they're really slick little deals. So You seen what Hog Wild picked up? See a trip to Home Depot for wood in his future. Oh, speaking of wood, hang on here. I think I got that over here somewhere halfway safe from the cat. All right, here we go. I made one of these. Get your minds out of the gutter. That is for rolling kroomkaka. But that used to be a part of a shovel handle. And that means I got my wood lathe working. I still need a few odds and ends for it for making specific things. For if I want to make a set of Wagner waffle iron handles, I'm gonna need a 4 jaw chuck. I got that ordered actually, and I'll need a drill bit chuck for the tailstock so I can drill them out, because you have to drill a hole in the middle of Wagner waffle iron handles. But I got a few that I need to make for myself, and hopefully I can get good enough at it that I can make passable ones for other people if you're in desperate need of waffle iron handles. So that'll be in the future yet, but getting along the way. And just for a little test piece to see if the lathe was going to work good, that turned out really nice. The lathe I got, it's got it for $35. It was rusty and dirty, but it was all there. And it is an old Craftsman 9-inch wood lathe. It's got a it's a long bed on it. It's like a 36-inch bed, but you can only do something up to 9 inches around on it. And it's from the 1930s. I mean, it's an ancient thing, but I got it all cleaned up and repainted everything. It's a thing of beauty. I probably should have took some before and after pictures of it, but it really turned out nice, and it works really good, so I'm happy with it. Used to have a wood lathe in the 70s along with other tools when you were a woodworker. Yeah, they're out there. I mean, it's kind of you need the time to mess around with things like that sometimes, and you just don't have it. And I haven't really used a wood lathe since I was in high school, so I was impressed with myself that I managed to do a simple cone with it and at least get a nice straight taper on it. You can send me some original Alfred Anderson handles. I do have actually a couple of Anderson handles floating around loose, and I was going to copy those. And some of them are. I've been looking at different pictures of them, seeing what some of the wooden handles look like, and yeah, it's going to be kind of tough. You can't really make a generic one. Well, you could, but if you want one that's correct for your waffle iron, you almost got to copy what it has. Some of the Griswolds, I notice the handle is bigger than the hole in the waffle iron and has more or less a straight taper to it. Some of them look like they're just dowels the same size as the hole that are just rounded off on the end. But they're all black lacquered, so I kind of think they're original to the irons I was looking at. And the ones on Wagnerware are going to be a bit more of a pain to make because they have a metal ferrule at the end. Some of them are long, some of them are short. I can find the short ferrules, but the long ones I probably wouldn't be able to get a hold of. And then they're drilled in the middle because the iron has you call it a lag stud. It's got a coarse lag bolt thread sticking out, and then on the end of that there's a machine thread that screws into the waffle iron, and then you screw the handle onto that lag part, and the metal ferrule on the end keeps you from splitting the handle. So you have to have a accurate hole drilled in the center of the right size, hopefully try and find the right length ferrule. Like I said, I can find the short ones, but long ones I probably wouldn't be able to find. And it's going to be, and every one of them seems to be different, but we'll get it figured out eventually. Yeah, you'll get good enough at it. Wait till you start turning bowls, folks won't leave you alone. Yeah, there's some really cool wood turning videos on YouTube if you want to see some people that actually know what they're doing. They can make some really, really interesting stuff. I've been collecting cast iron for many years and sell very little, close to 700 pieces. Finally found a 10.5 inch Griswold lid for 30 bucks and was super happy. Yeah, like I said, lids are usually tough to come by, and usually they go for more than 30 bucks. So you did really good for that. I'm making wood bowls. Yeah, I'll get into that eventually, I suppose, because you just got to try it. If you got a wood lathe, you got to try and make a nice wooden bowl. This ain't a very big one. Like I said, the biggest I can make would be about a 9 inch round bowl. Make salad bowls, I guess. But if you got a big lathe, then you can make big bread making bowls. Those are really popular, and you can make a lot of money with one of them. Used to be an exotic woodworker in the 70s, mostly for the Laguna Beach. Yeah, I mean, like I said, woodwork is a lot easier if you got the machinery for it and got a shop set up, but you can do a lot just whittling or with some fairly basic stuff. A table saw. I mean, an old neighbor of mine, he was an old handyman, been building things for years and years, and he would make these little jewelry boxes out of different kinds of woods that you don't normally see. Stuff like sumac and whatever you could find out in the woods growing. And he had, pretty much just a table saw and would cut it down into little thin boards and build these boxes out of it. And they're just beautiful. And that was just nothing but a sander and a table saw. So you can definitely do some stuff if you're creative with a bare minimum of tools. But it's a lot handier if you got, planers and joiners and all that sort of thing. And if you make butcher blocks, you can retire in 2 months. I don't know about that. But that ought to be an adventure, playing around with that. Want a homemade cutting board, but they're high. Yeah, it's, the price of good hardwood, is fairly expensive, and time for somebody to sit around and actually build you something. Many Griswold here in Connecticut, farther north into Massachusetts and Vermont. Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of regional, the distribution. Around here, you see mostly Wagner and Griswold, probably about 60-40 towards the Wagner. And, but you see quite a few Lodge and BSR up here too. But, the Lodge and BSR is a lot more prevalent down south. Too bad Black Locust isn't too workable. Nice yellowish color, glows under blacklight. That'd be neat. Yeah, I got some chunks of mulberry. I want to try and turn one of them just to see what it looks like. It's a neat looking wood. It's got kind of a greenish yellow to it. Changes as it dries, so I'll have to kind of see what it ends up looking like. Now that I got some dry bits, I'll try and turn one on there just to see what it looks like more than anything. Hardwoods are really expensive, especially exotic hardwoods. Yeah, I mean, you start getting into the exotic tropical hardwoods, you're going to spend a lot of money for stuff like that just for the lumber. Let's see here. Using black walnut from a branch off your tree. Yeah, I got some black walnut trees growing here, and I've had, between me and the power company, some of them that have had to been trimmed but it's been long enough ago, and they were just little small branches for the most part. But if I get, if I have to trim off a branch that's big enough to do something with, I'll definitely keep it and let it dry. Everyone up here thinks Griswold is gold, but sometimes he can negotiate. Yeah, he can still find, fairly reasonable on some of the Griswold stuff anyway, at least the more common sizes. And you can usually get a small logo a fair bit cheaper than you can the large logo. And as far as it goes, it's it's the same quality pan. They use the same patterns, the same processes. They just change the logo on it is all. So but yeah, they go for a bit less of a price, so you can get a break on that anyway. Better to get most of your hardwood from rural sawmill operations. Yeah, trying to buy a oak board at Menards or Home Depot, you're going to spend quite a bit of money for red oak. If you can get rough sawn at a sawmill, you can get it quite a bit cheaper. A little off the beaten path. Is a Lodge leather pan handle cover worth the money, or should you just buy another cloth quilted kind, also by Lodge? I don't really know. I haven't really used handle covers. I usually just grab it with a hot pad, or a lot of times if you're frying something, the handle won't get all that hot by the time you're done. If you're just frying up, bacon or eggs or something like that, a lot of times you can still grab the handle and it's just warm. But yeah, I don't really know much about the handle covers because I don't really use them. Red oak used to be really cheap in the 70s. Yeah, then red oak got more popular, and white oak was a lot cheaper. White oak has kind of come up a bit too now, especially for stuff like flooring. It used to be everybody wanted maple flooring, and they still do because maple's real nice flooring. Either maple or red oak, and white oak flooring was dirt cheap, and it's kind of come up in price too, and pretty much matches everything else. A ton of ash in Harrisburg. Ash borer is the reason. Yeah, we had the same problem in Wisconsin. So everybody's cutting down the ash trees before the borers kill them. So you can definitely find some. You can definitely find a lot of ash, especially like cities. They're going around cutting down the boulevard trees, the ash boulevard trees, and a lot of times they'll have big piles of ash logs for sale. Of course, then you'd have to saw it up yourself, or pay somebody to do it for you. But there's quite a bit of ash around right now. You look like hickory oak and Osage orange. Yeah, we don't have hickory quite this far north. In the southern part of Wisconsin, there's hickory trees, but we're just a bit too far north for them to grow around here. Gloves coming to you soon from your welding brother. Ah, good. I got to get a decent pair of foundry gloves. Welding gloves, most welding gloves, you can pick up hot metal with them, but they're not really made for that. They're really made for holding on to it for very long. They'll heat through and get too hot for your hand eventually. But with leather ones, especially if it's way too hot, over time the leather will dry out and stiffen up. And I want to get a pair of regular foundry gloves that are meant for holding on to hot metal for a while. Welding gloves are mostly to protect your hands from radiant heat, sparks, and things like that. But they're nice. I mean, you can grab something hot out of the oven with it and set it up on top of the stove, and they work great for that. But if you have to hold on to something for 4 or 5 minutes, like when you're rubbing seasoning onto a pan, they'll start getting a bit uncomfortable after a while. white oak is a better cabinet wood. You still like red oak for furniture. Yeah, I mean they're both beautiful woods, but yeah, for a long time, white oak was nobody was terribly interested in white oak for some reason. It's a little bit different grain. I mean, if you see them side by side, you can tell the difference. But for the most part, you just look at it and say, "Oh yeah, that's oak." You know, whether it's white oak or red oak, you hardly notice. Made a couple of candlesticks holders out of paddock wood. I ain't even gonna try and pronounce it. Back in the 70s on a wood lathe. Wood is beautiful. One of these days, I might have to go out and cut some. It's blue beech is what they call it, but it's not actually a beech. It's more of a big shrub. It usually grows in clumps. A lot of people call it muscle wood because the stems, it looks like, you know, a real muscular forearm. It's really cool wood, but it's super hard and really dense. And that'd be some pretty neat stuff to play with sometime. Don't plan on holding it that long. That's what your silicone gloves are for. I can't find any that really fit me right. I mean, because I got big hands and it's hard to find gloves that actually fit right. I mean, extra large gloves are just about the right size, but they're still usually a little too small or they won't quite go all the way on, and you got that space in your thumb where it doesn't fit right. Tiger oak is hard to find. Yeah, a lot of the the tiger striping and things like that in wood depends on where in the tree the wood came from and how you saw it. Not exactly an expert on it, but a lot of the bird's eye maple comes from basically from stumps, and the biggest tap roots is where you get the really highly figured the the tigers for maple anyway. The bird's eye and the tiger stripe is usually the stump and the biggest roots, so you're not going to get big long pieces out of it. But it's really beautiful stuff. And then if you saw it right, I mean, if you I know the terms, you know, quarter sawing or plane sawing, it makes a difference. But don't ask me to explain the difference in quarter sawing and plane sawing. Never seen any tiger oak. Well, it's oak and it's basically got, you know, kind of crosswise stripy looking things to it. It's like tiger maple, bird's eye maple, you know, the really highly figured stuff. Pretty similar, but yeah. My lodge is on the way. Ah, thank you. We'll have to eagerly await that. Zebra wood's beautiful, except it smells like cat piss when sanded. Well, I'll try and avoid the zebra wood then. Trees growing on the side of a hill will have great grain striation. Yeah, it makes sense, I guess. You know, they're trying to straighten themselves up as they grow upwards. I suppose the wind also would have an effect on it. So does red oak. I wouldn't say red oak smells like cat piss, but it's got a definite smell to it when you sand it or cut it. Huckleberry smells like Parmesan when cut off. Okay. Like I was mentioning about my neighbor made the jewelry boxes out of sumac. Sumac is a really cool wood. It's really sappy though. It's really sticky, and there's a lot of sap in it. But it has this real golden green color to it. It's really beautiful stuff. But you're not going to get anything really big out of it. And like I said, he would, cut it up on his table saw. And yeah, it's got a really neat color to it. I mean, you don't hardly see that. It's, green and gold, but it's really, I mean, it would really gum up the saw blade. He was constantly having to get burnt on resin off of his saw blade. What's it mean if a pine tree grows diagonally? It means it's leaning to one side. I spelled it wrong. It's pronounced Paduki. Paduk. That'd be all right. Honey badger got some rain. Got a little bit of rain around here. It's finally kind of eased up. I mean, it rained pretty much all of June. We only had like 5 or 6 days that didn't rain in June, and a fair bit here in July too. But it's finally the last week, instead of raining every other day, it's raining about every fourth. So red oak smells like doggy doo. Burned it in the fireplace. Hated bringing that in the house. I don't mind the smell of red oak. Of course, I burned a lot of it. Quarter sawn means the log was sawn into quarters before the boards are sawn. Yeah, in a more distinctive grain pattern. Yeah, where plain saw, you just run the log through the saw, as it goes through. But yeah, it really has a big effect on the grain because you're cutting across the grain in a different direction than you would be if you just, slabbed it off of a log. And there's other ways of sawing it too. If you got a specific type of wood and you really want to bring out the grain and you know how to run a sawmill, there's a bunch of different ways of sawing things that really exposes the pattern of the grain. But like I said, I've never worked in a sawmill, so I don't really know that much about it. Had some rain here, over 13.5 inches as of yesterday. Add some more today. Well, July, something else. Yeah, like I said, June we got tons and tons of rain. It was just raining constantly, but it was good because it was a dry winter. We got very little snow over the winter, and up into May, it was starting to go into outright drought conditions. But now we're pretty much caught up again. But usually this time of year it starts to dry off a bit. July and August, you don't get a huge amount of rain. You'll get big storms coming through, but you don't get the constant soaking rain like you usually do in the spring. Let's see. What else was I going to talk about? I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, I got caught up on a few of my other projects. I might finally get around to doing some welding here. Try and make a welding video. I got a couple of different pans here that I can use for demonstrators for welding here outside and making videos. I got a big welding project on my tractor I got to get started. So once I get all that set up and going with that, it'd be a fairly easy transition to go ahead and do a couple of pan welding videos. Like I said, it's still, I've got got it down pretty good to where I can, weld up cracks on the outside, but a closed crack where it's like a crack in the bottom where it doesn't run all the way out to the edge, I haven't tried one of those yet, and I know that's going to be a problem. So we'll have to see how that works out. Show us my lathe sometime. Yeah, I'll have to I'll have to take some pictures of it now they got it all cleaned up. Like I said, if I'd have been thinking, I would have took some before pictures. Getting rain here too. Got mushrooms popping up all over. Yeah, the mushrooms have been running pretty wild around here too. I got a lot of them out here in the woods. A friend of mine went out for a walk in the woods and just picking mushrooms, nothing to eat because he didn't know much about mushrooms, but just seeing all the different ones that are growing around here. And he came back with just a ton. Yeah, I mean, I never really realized he must have hit it right at the right time, but Christ, there had to have been 40, 50 different kinds of mushrooms that he found. Like I said, I wouldn't try eating any of them, but there's pretty cool looking ones in there. Saw where Pigeon Forge in Tennessee near Dollywood got slammed with flooding. Yeah, like I say, we have gotten a little bit dried out around here finally. Your lathe you bought in the 70s was old and had an old washing machine engine running it. Yeah, I had to find a motor for mine, and didn't have the motor with it, but that was no big deal. You could find electric motors fairly easy, and you don't need a really big motor to run most wood lathes because you're not lugging them down that hard. If you had a great big one, you'd need more power, of course, but for most of your home shop lathes, half horse is a great plenty. But I got one, I think it's 3/4 horse for $6 at an auction, so that's the one it has on there now. And that's definitely got more power than it actually needs. Woke up Sunday and your yard was covered. Yeah, they come in fast and hard when the mushrooms start popping up. Rusty's going to bed. 4 a.m. comes early. Yeah, it does. I used to hate having to get up at 4 in the morning to go to work. I'm more of a night owl. I like working night shifts better. Don't eat the red mushrooms with the white warts or you'll sweat out the night in la la land. Yeah, it's generally best not to be eating random mushrooms that you find growing around. All I know about Wisconsin is they make this caramel corn that's to die for. I used to make popcorn balls. It's been a long time since I did that. I haven't really tried caramel corn though. What's my butcher block made out of? That's made out of maple. Although I think the legs are something different. I'm not quite sure what the legs are made out of. It's a different kind of wood, but the block itself is maple, and it's all end grain. The little boards are standing up vertically, and they're tongue and groove together, so that when you're chopping on it, you're chopping on the end of the board instead of the sides, and that way they don't get chewed up too much. Old woodworking machines, the other cast iron. Yeah, they pretty much made entirely a cast iron. Don't know who L. Francis is, but they're a genius. Clever guy, that Francis. Had those red mushrooms at Woodstock, too. They're not for the faint of heart. Oh, dear. I did get the Billy Lee got a Griswold Colonial breakfast skillet, your only new item. Someday I'll get one of those. Find it cheap enough for a cheap bastard like me to buy to pay for it. They usually go $150 or so for them. There's pretty good demand for them. That and the catalog number on them is 666, so all the Satanists are buying them up. The evil Satan worshiping bastards. Maple end grain is great for cutting boards. Very hardwood. Yeah. Yeah, that's what they traditionally that's what they used for butcher blocks was end grain maple. Hey, Christ, 55 minutes already? That went by fast. Maybe looking for a while. Yeah, you don't see them going cheap all that often, but yeah, you never know. Like I said, you'd be surprised some of the things you find sometimes. Usually when you're looking for something else is when you find something like that, or you find it when you got $5 in your pocket and they want 10. Your second one, they're popular in Virginia. Yeah, I think I only have one breakfast skillet, the little subdivided square skillets, and pretty sure it's an import. It's a nice pan, but pretty sure it's a an imported copy of something. They also did make divided round pans, round skillets. I'm trying to think, I think Wagner made some. Maybe it was Griswold too, but those are pretty scarce and get a lot of money for those. Got an entire maple butcher block countertop from a company, Global Industrial. Pretty happy with it. Yeah, it'd probably be a probably a pretty spendy. I can talk. Pretty spendy item to get is a solid butcher block countertop. They are fairly popular. I mean, you can definitely get them, but the better ones, nice end grain for a countertop. It's only going to be a couple inches thick, so it's going to be a lot of little bits of maple glued together. Got a Chef's Choice maple cutting board, $10 at a estate sale. That's a pretty good price. Let's see. Obviously, going to have to do more shows on woodworking, I guess. Kind of get sidetracked from iron into wood, but a lot of cast iron stuff has wooden handles, so I think it'll be fairly handy to develop a little skill towards making handles for things. Griswold 665 or 7 is the round breakfast skillet with dividers down the middle. Yeah, I want to say Wagner did one too. I could be wrong about that, but I know they're out there. And they're pretty scarce, pretty high price for them when you do come across them. But anyhow, we've been at this for 58 minutes, so I think I'll wrap her up here, get the air conditioner fired back up. It's going to be hot and humid all week, so going to get a little bit of a workout on the air conditioning. Other than that, I'll see you guys next week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Whether it's woodworking or cast iron, we always manage to find something to talk about. And found some cool stuff. Got a bunch more projects to get cleaned up and try and get them done. Cleaned up, weld a couple of them. Hopefully I'll be able to get a couple of welding videos made this summer. Always threatening to make them, but it's hard to get around to them sometimes. But anyhow, I'll see you guys next week. Don't see a reason why there won't be a show next week, so we'll operate under that assumption for the time being. And hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you guys next time.